optical art. Okay guys, so I've been predicting that Bitcoin's going to hit 22K on June 4th. A lot of people have been saying, how the hell can you know what price will be on a specific date? Well, again, when I show you this, I'm going to recreate this chart from scratch, showing you why that target seems likely. I'm also going to give you some other bottom targets and potential dates for those targets, and I'm going to show you how I found this white line. Again, I'm going to recreate this from scratch, showing you how I found this white fib channel line that we all shorted in advance. This is why I told everybody to short at 48,000. More recently, I told everybody to short at 40K. Remember, some people shorted this and made a year's salary in a day. And this chart also nailed the bottom, this temporary bottom down here of this green line at 25,300. So again, I'm going to show you how I found all of this. This is the published chart, this published version of the M1 chart. This is that white line I was saying to short. This is published on March 26. I said when we break below this ring, expect us to capitulate. This is that green line we found support. I'm going to hit play. So every time we hit this white line, we got rejected. Again, I'm going to show you how I found this white line here. And this is where we found support. This is the original video where I was talking about this chart, telling everybody I was going to short at this point. This was put out on March 28th. I'll put a link up this video now if you want to check it out. So I'm going to use this chart. I'm going to recreate that chart from scratch, show you how I did this. Now, guys, I'm going to be sharing some of my secrets here. So all I ask is you leave a like, and share this video with other people. That's all I ask. So before I create this chart, guys, I did update my website. I made a tweet asking people. I said, if you were going to leave a review for me, what would you say? A lot of people left reviews. Thank you, guys. Every single one was positive. By the way, my Twitter is private. You have to be signed up to my website to get access to my Twitter, but I am allowing people access. So if you use my Bigot affiliate link pinned in the first comment description, you email back with your Bigot user ID number, I will give you access to my Twitter. But if you want to read some of these reviews, I did put these on my website, so you can just, the link's opticalartcrypto.com, links pinned in the first comment description, but you can read some of these reviews. If you do sign up, guys, I keep you updated daily, if not hourly, on Twitter and in Discord. This was May 20th. I said we were in a head and shoulders pattern. I was giving you some bottom targets. You can see how this played out. We came down quite a bit. We also, again, guys, I mapped out your support and resistance levels so you know we're long and short. We came down. We found support right here. You can see we pushed up. This was another call I made on May 23rd. I said we were at resistance on two charts. This is a likely point to put in a short. And you see how this played out. We came down. This was just 7 hours ago. I said we were coming up on resistance. So the Dow was down. This would be a nice point to scalp a quick short at 29,444. You can see how this played out. We got rejected. We came down, and then we came down even further. So, guys, I do help you find the best entry points to long and to short. Remember, guys, if you do want to use BitGet, I use them because they're legal to use in the US, Canada, and Australia. You do not need to use a VPN to mask your IP address. You do 125 times leverage. And remember, if you use that BitGet affiliate link and you email back the BitGet user ID number, it will give you access to Twitter. They do have some special going on, so if you deposit a certain amount of money, you can get $4,000 back to trade with. So if you want to check that out. Okay, guys, let's recreate this chart. So get ready to have your minds blown, all right? I'm going to give you a peek into my charting technique, and I'm going to show you why I'm so confident we're going to bottom on those targets. So I'm sure you're all aware of the 200 weekly moving average. So if you notice back here, this was in 2015. We found support on the 200 weekly. This was in 2019. We found support on the 200 weekly. And you'll notice we dropped below it in 2020, right? But if you turn on the 300 weekly, you'll see we found perfect support right here. Actually, it's a coincidence. I mean, we did find support here. Remember, the moving average follows price. But we didn't actually bottom on these points. And when I create this chart, it'll make more sense. But I am using these moving averages to predict the timing for when we're going to bottom. But I'm using another technique to actually find the bottom price. So again, it'll make more sense when I create the chart. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a fib channel. And we're going to come from our peak up here in 2013. And you can see I'm bringing this line just below where we bottomed. And I'm bringing this up to where we peaked in 2017. And the first thing you'll notice is if we draw a trend line here, right? Notice that previous resistance flips as support, right? So resistance, 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 flipped as support. We bottomed on that same trend line, right? So previous resistance flipped as support. Okay, well, this is in 2017, 2018. Same thing, exact same thing, exact parallel channel. Previous resistance flips as support. Resistance, resistance, flipped as support. We bottomed on that same trend line. Okay, so that's two points. This was 2013, 2015. This was 2017, 2018. It happens again. So I'm going to draw another fib channel line. I'm going to come from this point right here, get it to match up as close as you can, kind of doing this quick and dirty. Bring this up to the blue line, right? And notice what happens right here. The exact same thing happens in 2019. Previous resistance flips as support. We bottom on that same trend line. So this has happened 3 times now. This is why I believe it's going to happen again. And this is how I'm able, again, I believe, to predict not only the price we're going to bottom, but the actual date. But again, this is 3 times now. Resistance flips as support, we bottom on that same point. So yes, while we did bottom on the 200 weekly and 300 weekly, it was previous resistance flipped as support. So let me turn on the 200 weekly moving average and the 300 weekly. So again, like I said, so this goes too far back. So I imagine, you know, had this come all the way back, if we had more price data, but we don't have a moving average come back this far. But if you'll notice right here, again, we just happen to make contact, and this is how I'm giving you the exact date for the price. We made contact, previous resistance flipped as support at the same time we made contact with the 200 weekly moving average. And when we had our COVID crash, right? It just so happened we bottomed, previous resistance flipped as support. It happened when we made contact with the same trend line, resistance flipped as support when we made contact with the 300 weekly moving average. So using this information, I'm able to potentially give you a price target on a specific date. So let's go further. So just like I did before, so I'm going to create a fib channel line. I'm going to come from right here. And this is how I was able to find that line on the M1 chart that we shorted. Bring this up to this blue line. And you can see right here, that is that line I told everybody to short every time we hit it. And keep in mind, guys, this is on the weekly. So you can see right here, this is that point that we shorted. That is how I found that point. And this is what I'm trying to explain. So if this was our previous resistance, right? Now we did push above it, you know, we pushed above it, we came below it, but notice we topped out right here, right at 66,900. So this was resistance. We kind of moved down this point. So if we bring this line down, right? Well, okay, so we know if we're going to test previous resistance as support, and we know that every time we make contact with that support is at the moving average. Well, if you bring this out, you know, something like this. So if we're going to make contact with this anytime soon, it has to be around, you know, right here where I have my, again, this is on the weekly, so, you know, every time I move my mouse over, you know, just one candle, that's an entire week. So that would put us at or around, this is May 30th, right here is June 6th. So May 30th through June 6th, if we continue down, this seems like a likely first bottom target, right here. And if we drop further, so if we bring this out, right, this is the 300 weekly moving average, right? So if this is going to be the point we bottom on, well, if we bring this out, we don't know exactly what it's going to do, just get an idea. Well, if we come down, you know, let's say we hold support, we push back up, we get rejected, we come down. Well, we know we have to make contact with the 300 weekly at the same point we hit previous resistance as support. So that's why I'm saying by late July, we could be down around 16,500 right here. And again, this has happened previously. Look, every single time, the exact same damn thing happens. Previous resistance flipped as support. Previous resistance flipped as support. Just happened to make contact with that support level at the 200 weekly. And right here, we just happen to make contact. Previous resistance flipped as support at the 300 weekly. So that's what I'm saying. We know what to pay attention to. Now, let's say that we end up breaking above this point, all right? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that means this would be resistance, and this would flip as support. So that means if that does play out, well, you know where to pay attention. That means that if we push above this trend line, the next point that you'd bottom would be potentially 22,659 on the 22nd of August 2022. And if you break that point, right, or if we hold support, you know, and this comes out like this, well, you know the next point that you'd bottom is right here. This would be the 24th of October 2022. I find that less likely. Again, when I show you the Dow Jones chart, it'll make more sense. But it is very possible, just like you saw back here, well, you know, we broke the 200 weekly moving average. So who's to say that we can't break the 300 weekly moving average? If that happens, well, using this chart, knowing that previous resistance flips as support, you turn on the 400 weekly moving average, well, look what happens here. Let's say that we continue down. Well, again, you break the 200, you go to the 300, you break the 300, you go to the 400, right? So if we bring this out, right, and we continue down, that would give us a target of around $12,783. Again, rough estimate, and this would be the 5th of September 2022. And again, some people are saying, well, how would you know this? Well, again, if you go back and you look at it, every single time we bottom, the same line we found resistance is the same line we bottom, right? Previous resistance flipped as support. Previous resistance flipped as support. It just happened to be where the 200 weekly is. Again, we didn't bottom on 300 weekly. We bottomed on previous resistance flipped as support. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that the 200 weekly, 300 weekly, and the 400 weekly is just to give us timing. We know the point we bottom on is previous resistance flipped as support. So if this was our previous resistance and this is going to flip as support, it's going to be one of these 3 points. And that's how I'm fairly confident that it's going to be potentially between early June, right, would be our first bottom target. That'd be around 22,000. If that breaks, your next point, this is the line you're going to find support. So if we come down to the 300 weekly moving average, that's late July. If that breaks, and again, don't think it can't break because nobody thought this would break. So if that happens, the 400 weekly moving average is going to be right here around September 5th, 2022. So again, that's why I'm saying I believe that is the point. These are the 3 points and 3 days to pay attention to. And again, that is how I found that white line we shorted right here on the M1 chart. You can see how accurate that's been. So again, that's what I'm showing you. If you understand the direction of price, right? If you understand how price is moving, and you use the 200 weekly, 300 weekly, and 400 weekly moving average along with these fib channel lines that clearly shows previous resistance flipped as support, it really can help you find the bottom targets and the bottom prices. Now this does go along with the Dow Jones, and I've talked about this chart before. And now I expect a lot more downside for the indices, and that's why I believe we have a lot more downside for Bitcoin. If the indices are up, Bitcoin's up. Indices down, Bitcoin down. And I've covered this chart before. You can see this orange fib circle right here. I have these white arrows. Typically, what happens is you go from ring to ring. Notice we got topped out at this ring here. We bottomed down at this ring. We pushed up this resistance. You see this resistance, support. We're respecting the hell out of this orange fib circle. More support. We pushed up to this one. It was resistance for a little bit. We pushed back up. This one was resistance. This is where we topped out at this last ring. I told you guys to short. We caught the top. And notice, right, I'm going to zoom in a bit. Notice this ring. This orange ring right here was support, right? We pushed up, this was resistance. We came back down, held support again. This is where I told you guys recently to short the Dow up here around 35,213. And I said, if we get below this ring, all right, I said, once we get below this point and come back up and test it as resistance and get rejected, your next target is down here. So we're talking about having a drop in the indices down to around, at least the Dow Jones, down to around 27,620. If that happens, guys, we're going to have a lot of downside for Bitcoin. As far as I'm concerned, we're already on our way down to this point. So all that we're waiting to find out is, are we going to bottom on the 200 weekly moving average, the 300 weekly, or the 400 weekly? But we know whichever one we hit, we know when the date is and when that price is. So let me go ahead and give you some key support resistance levels, guys, to pay attention to. So this is the H1 chart. You can see we did push up. Guys, you can also use the Bollinger Bands as well. So your current resistance on the H1 chart is up here at 30,014. That'd be the next point to enter a short. You see your current support right now, this candle open just above it, is 29,300. Your next support level just below that is 29,154. Your next support level below that is right here around 28,351. This is the C1 chart. Notice we came down, found perfect support right here, 28,676. You see your current resistance right now is this. This is a parallel line that matches. You see this is parallel to these lines here. So that was current resistance. You see I rejected at this point. Your current resistance now is 29,623. Your next resistance level above is up here at 30,405. Your current support right now is 28,614. Your next support level below that is 27,231. This is the C1 BG chart. You see we found perfect support right here at 28,629. So your next point to chance along is 28,557. Your next support level below is 27,446. Remember, this is an angle, depends on you make contact. This is that point in that tweet. In the beginning of this video, I told you to short up here. So this is your next resistance to watch at 30,367. Again, guys, so let me go back to the M1 chart. So I just want you to pay attention to these targets. These are the most important macro targets to pay attention to. So notice we bottomed right here at 25,356. If we break this current support, and the reason I have this line here is because this is where it previously bottomed back here on, this is the 24th of January 2021. We bottomed the same line on the 23rd of June 2021. And you see we're currently holding support there now. So if that support level breaks, right? So if this breaks 28,741, your next support level below is going to be right down here around potentially 26,150. That'd be an ideal point to long. If we push up, guys, I've mentioned this, talked about this before. If we do get a pump, if the indices start pushing up, I think the point to put in a short is when you make contact with this red line. This red line has been a lot of support and resistance going back since the beginning of Bitcoin. So I would go in a heavy ass short depending when you make contact. We push straight up, we're talking about 32,672. It's further out here, 32,800. I will go in a heavy short at this point. Make this red. Again, that is where I'll be shorting. And again, if this breaks, guys, if 28,150 breaks, this is my target right here. This is June 4th, around 22,000. I just showed you why I believe that's the case. And if that breaks, all right, if we get a bounce and push up and come back down, again, a lot of confluence, like I just showed you when I recreated that M1 chart. This is late July. This is potentially 16,576. Again, late July. And if it's the 400 weekly moving average, I gave you that price and I gave you that timing for that as well. But guys, that's pretty much it. Just remember, if we push up, I'm shorting the hell out of 32,800, and my first point too long is going to be around 22,000. But I do think this will probably break, and ultimately we're headed down to at least 16,500. Guys, if you do want to access these charts, website's opticrypto.com. Link will be pinned in the first comment description. Remember, using my Big Get affiliate link. That's also pinned in the first comment description. If you email back with your Big Get user ID number, I will give you access to my Twitter. That's it, guys. Trade safe, trade smart. I'm out.